So I think the lowest character in solo viable, hi, welcome to the new video, Jigglypuff. This character loses a lot of matchups. Don't get me wrong. And I know that. But the thing about it, in Ultimate, sometimes it doesn't matter if you have losing matchups because you win anyway with explosive plays. Whether it's rest plays, whether it's edge guards, whether it's just good advantage state. This character can definitely do enough to fight with the top tiers. Of course, are there bad matchups like Samus or Wii Fit Trainer? Absolutely. But the character can do a lot versus a lot of characters. I mean, there's a reason why Base Mage pre-patch beat Cola, right? And like Cola is obviously a around top 10 player, and yet lost to Puff. Base Mage got 9th at Horde Priority. Really did really well. Loki should have beat Tweak. So I think Puff is the bottom of solo viable. If you want to argue the top of here, that's fine. I just think Puff is really good. And again, there are a lot of characters left. Like there are, just for reference, a ton of characters left. So it's not like this is like, oh man, like this is the end, this is the she's broken. Like no. Also in this tier, the next character I want to talk about is Mii Gunner. I think Mii Gunner is better than people give them credit for. I think because of the fact that you can switch movesets, there are not a lot of really bad matchups. Probably still some, absolutely. But I think people like Capitancito are really showing what this character can do. I think Capitancito is amazing. I want to see him compete more in like mainland North America. This is really, really good. And Mii Gunner can do a lot. Like Mii Gunner can absolutely shut down the ledge. It's difficult to approach. Really good out of shield options, especially in terms of mostly up smash. But good killing with up smash, forward smash, back air, dash attack, charge shot, the grenade. Like there's a lot of stuff that's good about this character that can kill. It's just they're not quite fast enough. But if you don't know, if you're not 100% comfortable in the matchup, you're gonna really, really struggle. And not a lot of people are, even at top level. The next character that's over here is a similar but different character, because it's still a zoner in Duck Hunt. I think Duck Hunt's really good. I think Duck Hunt's definitely solo viable. This character can do so much. Like the can traps are crazy, and I think you can really like. I mean, Raito got like top 8 at Evo with Duck Hunt by themselves. Of course, there are like the meta changed, and there's better zoner characters like Min Min probably shuts down this character. Steve probably shuts down this character. So maybe a couple more bad matchups since, of course, DLC Pack 2 existed. But I still think overall Duck Hunt can do it. I think you can definitely, like for my definition of solo viable, it's like, oh, you can like probably make top 8 sometimes with this character. And I think Duck Hunt is absolutely in that tier. I think Duck Hunt's still a strong character, really frustrating to fight against. The camera movement's annoying, you can cover your recoveries. Well, it's still be edge guarded, and you don't exactly, like the problem is of course with Duck Hunt is if you don't get an early setup kill, you can't really kill. Because it can be a real struggle to kill the character occasionally. Another character here would be Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo is good enough. I think there are better charge characters, but I think Mewtwo has a lot of good stuff. I think Mewtwo is actually also does pretty good in meta. He doesn't like beat a ton of characters, but he doesn't lose badly. So if you're better than the opponent, you can just win. Is it hard to be better than your opponent consistently? Yeah, but I think it's definitely possible. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Mewtwo has some good stuff. I mean, kills really early, has a kill throw, edge cancels, decent recovery. Obviously, Mewtwo is a little inconsistent because of his tail stuff, but I think Mewtwo's like a pretty solid character, very fast, very scary. But I mean, Wadi's been putting in work with this character. I mean, consistently getting like, what, top 16, 17, got 33rd at Frostbite, or sorry, at main stage, which is first placement, I'm pretty sure. So this character, good, can do some good stuff. Has some decent matchups with like Snake, the Shotos. They're really good. Like Mewtwo's good, in my opinion. Like after watching Wadi a ton, I'm like, okay, yeah, like this character has a lot of stuff. Lucas is probably a little lower, actually. I think Lucas is good. I think Lucas has a lot of good stuff. I think the double jump cancel Zaire stuff is ridiculous. I think this character has like good throws, maybe not like combo throws, but like good combos. Technically infinite-ish combos with like Zaire chains across the stage. They're just hard and very technical. Good zoning, the ability to heal, floaty, so it can sometimes be annoying to hit. I think that we're still really missing, especially because Remy hasn't been performing super well because he gets a lot of anxiety in tournaments. I don't think we have like the top Lucas player, but I think Lucas is overall a very strong character without a ton of bad matchups. I definitely think he loses to like sword characters and stuff like that. But I think Lucas is like overall pretty good. Lucas is greater than Ness? Absolutely not. Ness is broken. No, there's still we're still missing the top Lucas rep, but I think Lucas is really, really scary and really good. I think he has a lot of potential, and he's just a good character. Like, yes, he lose to characters like Palu and Pyramithra. Yeah, probably. But I think the character is arguably better than Byleth, and Byleth is winning majors. So I think Lucas is very good, but it's just missing just a little bit of sauce. Next up is Bayonetta. Lima is destroying people. Lima has been doing so well with this character. Again, there's still a lot of characters left. There are 45 characters left, 40-ish characters left. So I don't think Bayo is super, super high, but Bayo's been doing really well. And it's not just Lima, it's Tamim, mostly those two. But there are multiple, right, that are doing really well. They both got 9th at SmashCon. Literally 2 Bayonettas got 9th in SmashCon. And Lima is just really talented. He's been destroying Texas. He won that North Carolina regional or whatever, beating several good people. Yeah, Dialga's really good too. Upsetting Riddles. So this character has stuff. I think the matchups that this character loses are bad, and I think people still need to work on their SDI flowcharts. But I think that Bayonetta's been doing really, really well recently. She has a great recovery. She has decent out of shield options. She does mad damage on combos, even though she can't really kill you most of the time. But she has plenty of ways to kill you if you're not a short electric rat. Overall, Bayo has some good stuff. And does she get outclassed by several characters? Yeah. But I definitely think she is good enough to make waves and can do really well at majors. The next character in solo viable is going to be Pichu. I think Pichu's pretty good. I think his offense is ridiculous. I think if he gets the hit, he's one of the scariest characters in the game. His advantage hit's really good. His combo routes are insane. Platforms are no platforms with IDJ. Everything about this character is terrifying, except if you just camp them. And that's really good versus Pichu. Pichu is incredibly light and dies to random kill moves. Loses to projectiles because they will go through T-Jolt and hit T-Jolt. And of course, Pichu hurts himself. So that's really rough. But at the same time, offense is crazy. Really good edge guarding, really early kills, really early everything. I think Pichu's underrated still. I think people pushed Pichu really far out of the meta. And especially people still aren't paying attention to Nietono, who I'm pretty sure still mains this character and still doing pretty well in Japan. Not super well in Japan, but well enough. And then Arfang hasn't been going to anything. And Void plays Sheik now. So kind of just in a weird spot in the meta. Next up is Corrin. I think Corrin's good. I still think Corrin's better than people think Corrin is. I think Corrin's a really good character. Yes, are there better sword characters? So is it necessarily super useful? No. Do they get strictly outclassed by Pyramithra? Absolutely. But they're still unique enough and have a really good advantage state, really good kill aerials, good edge guarding. Back air is an amazing, one of the best normals in the game. But I think Corrin's overall very good with Pin. The problem is there are literally no top players that play Corrin. The best Corrin player that plays is Shattuck. And granted, Shattuck is very, very good. Shattuck is a good player. But Cosmos, who was a perennial top 20-30 player, was going to play Corrin, and then Pyramithra came out, and so they play Pyramithra. I think Corrin's really good. I don't think their speed matters as much as people think it does, because they have giant normals, and the character kills out the ass. Fair Dragon Fang shot, fair pin, fair back air, fair up air, landing up air is really good, landing nair is really good. This character has a lot, decent out of shield options, not super great, but decent. And of course, if you ever miss against Corrin, you're gonna take a ton of damage because of their long combos. Landing fair at low percents can be brutal, or platform extensions can be brutal. It's just they're not as good as some of the other sword characters, so I think they're not super viable, but I definitely think if you really wanted to play Corrin, there's absolutely no reason why you can't. Next up is Falco. I still think Falco is a little overrated compared to people, but I do think there have been enough Falcos doing well enough, especially Tilde, right? Tilda, whatever. Falco's definitely solo viable. I do think he loses a couple matchups pretty bad, but at the same time, again, with these heavy advantage state characters like Falco, it's did you get the hit? You might win, even if you lose the matchup 65-35, even though I don't think Falco has that bad of a matchup. But the point is oh, you lose a 6-4 and it's a common character, cool, but what if you get the hit or are simply better than them, and then you win, right? I think Falco definitely has the tools to win. But yeah, I think Falco's pretty good. Again, it was one of the characters I wasn't sure about what was going to happen, and I definitely underrated Falco a couple times, but I think Falco's definitely good enough. And again, if you think about the amount of characters and everything, would I still potentially put him in mid-tier if I had to? Yeah. But I think he's solo viable. I think these two tiers are absolutely huge because so many characters in Ultimate are viable just to play by themselves, which is ridiculous. Next up is Ken. I still think Ken is the worst of the fighting game characters. He's fast, and of course he's scary. Like, this is a good character, right? Like, these are all good characters. I think Ken is really scary. I think he has a ton of offensive pressure. Of course, he has really interesting combos, a little bit more SDIable and a little bit less consistent than his counterparts, which is why, even though he has maybe higher peaks, I do think he's slightly worse than characters like Ryu. I think SDI affects him just as much as Ryu, and falling out of Shoryu is tragic. You know, cue the Vendetta versus DeBuzz at Smash World Tour.
I thought he had it. Oh, he missed. Oh, okay.
But I think this character is really good. I think Shoto's, like, both Ken and Ryu are very good characters. I just think Ken's still the worst one, basically. I just think, like, the back throw and, like, the speed is not worth the better Hadouken and the more consistent things and, like, Tatsu killing and stuff like that. So, yeah. Next up is Byleth. Listen, I still think a lot of people are playing this matchup incorrectly, but I'm going to take out my Pikachu bias if I have really good out of shield options and realize how difficult this character is to deal with. This character has anything you need. Good pressure, good out of shield options, gimmicks, cheese, a spike, pretty hard to edgeguard recovery, good normals, safe normals. So this character can do it all. Not necessarily the best, but they can do it all. And with a pilot like the best player in the world, Leo, you can really do it all. Byleth has like everything you need, but like just not like anything that you want, I guess. So Byleth is like, he's definitely, obviously, I can't not put him in solo viable when Leo's literally solo viable and like solo maining this character and winning majors. He's only gone Joker against me and Min players, because that matchup is really, really bad. The character establishes so much pressure. The Nair pressure is insane. I'm actually gonna make a like more specific video about Byleth and Leo, which you can look out for. But like overall, this character is just good enough. Really good spike, shield breaks, which again are like the cheese. So this character, you constantly have to be on your toes about like literally everything, because your shield might pop. You might take a Nair into dash, a Nair into grab forward air, which is 30 plus edge trapping. And if you get the reads and you're just consistent enough as a player, you can be consistent with this character because he doesn't have really any pitfalls besides the fact that he's slow, which is really going to only matter in like 3 matchups, which is like Pika, can't do a T-Jolt, Min because you can't get in, and like maybe like Samus or something like that. But like most characters you can deal with Byleth because if you fight, you can fight. And if you need to play mid-range, you can play mid-range. And those are like most of the characters in the game. Like he beat fucking T, 3-1 T with Byleth, crazy. Byleth's definitely good enough to be solo main. I still don't think top tier or like super broken, but like good enough clearly. Speaking of characters that are good enough, Wii Fit Trainer. I think Wii Fit is scary. Deep breathing, really good normals, good killing, ledge camping, which is something that most characters don't have, annoying zoning, the ability to heal, but Wii Fit's honestly really good in my opinion. I think Wii Fit struggles with a couple characters pretty bad, like Pika specifically, maybe better zoning characters, maybe better rushdown characters, but I think Wii Fit is a very, very good character. I think Wii Fit is overall strong as hell. The fact that like deep breathing is just limit on drugs, the fact that you can just do it at any time, it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, the character's really good. Maybe not better than Byleth, maybe not, but like good, like very good. Bowser. I think this is a slight demotion in terms of like numbers from my last tier list with Bowser. I think Bowser's obviously super good. Leon is incredible with this character. And then there's Hero from Japan, who's really good with this character. I think the character loses several matchups, but at the same time, it's a character that's like, oh, did you get the reads or did you get the momentum? You can win. And Leon and Hero are both really good at that. It has some really good normals and forward tilt for 2-framing. Fair is amazing. You have side beat, you have flame breath, you have a lot of tools to annoy people, to get a ton of damage, to frustrate people. You have the ability to Bowser side, you have the ability to edge guard. You have so much with this character. But also the juggling is really bad. But if you mess up once and you get down and you're downbeat and your shield breaks and you die, you know? So Bowser's definitely up there. He's a good character, but I definitely think he struggles a little more than people give him credit for. But at the same time, Leon beat Wrath. So, yeah. More demotion. Inkling. I think this character is low-key better than this. But at the same time, nothing's happening. This is a character, like a lot of characters that I thought were bad are getting results, like Mewtwo, and Duck Hunt, and Jigglypuff, and Falco, and like Byleth, of course, are getting results. And then Inkling is not. Granted, that's because some people dropped the character, the Cosmos. But also, there's no Inkling coming up in their stead. I know we have Space in Europe, who's very good, but I don't know if Space qualified for Smash World Tour Finals. I don't know what other Inklings are doing anything. This character is literally mid-range the character, but there are so many characters that do mid-range better. Is Inkling annoying? Yes. Does Inkling have up throw up air, so certain matchups are just really, really good for them? Absolutely. But overall, in a matchup, in a game where you really need to kill, that you really, really need to kill, not being able to kill is really bad. If you don't get the roller, if you don't get the up throw up air, then like you're screwed with this character. I think Inkling just like doesn't have anything to force people to approach besides the fact that it's short, and I don't think Inkling really has anything that's good enough to compete super top level. I think Inkling's still a good character, really annoying to hit, good jab, good damage output, great combos, good neutral, but I think like it's just not enough compared to a lot of other characters. Like nothing cheap enough besides their movement.
So Inkling got buffed, the main buff in my opinion being the Splatter Shot buff, the neutral B. I don't know why it's so much bigger. Splatter Shot was already one of Inkling's best moves, and I guess they're trying to make their playstyle more similar to Splatoon, where they actually just shoot people instead of just only fighting them. I think it's a very interesting buff because it allows Inkling to have long-range combat plus Ink, which is of course very good for them, as well as of course they're really good close combat with jab and back air and down tilt and all that stuff, as well as up tilt got buffed. I know forward tilt I'm pretty sure got buffed, but I don't think that one's as influential. But the up tilt buff, assuming it works actually well, I'm not 100% sure yet because I haven't really seen people use up tilt. I've used Inkling a couple games since then, and it does seem that it actually hits grounded people, which is nice because it's a fast in front of you move that isn't as committal as, let's say, a jab, and it starts people, puts them on platforms, which is Tech Chase City, with Roller and stuff like that. So I think this buff can be pretty good. I don't think this puts them out of this tier. Like, I don't think it bumps them out of solo viable into super viable, but it is definitely a nice quality of life change for the character. So yeah, I'm about it.
Next up, I'm gonna put Ryu. Slight demotion from last time. I don't think Ryu is the best or second best fighting game character anymore. I've seen Riddles play Terry, and that character's ridiculous. But yeah, Ryu is still really good. I think he's better than Ken. He's more consistent. Tatsu's really good, better fireball, so he's better at camping. In my opinion, it's like better getting off the ledge because of Red Fireball. I think Red Fireball is just really important, and of course, consistent Shoryu, consistent Tatsu, those things are very, very important. Of course, is SDI important versus Ryu? Absolutely. But I just don't think it's as influential as Ken's, and it's still really good. Again, very, very good stuff. But yeah.
I don't know why they buffed this character. Ryu didn't deserve buffs, and the buffs that he got were very influential. The damage on all of his fireballs being better means that it beats out projectiles, and it also combos better into his collarbone breaker, his hold forward tilt, which is his shield breaker, which also got buffed and is now faster. So now this character has true shield break combos that are pretty easy and pretty consistent if you shield from certain distances. Don't know why they buffed this character. Tatsu also has less lag, so it's harder to punish on hit at low percents, which is something that I feel like was very important against the character. And now you can't do that anymore. It's harder to punish it in general. I don't know why they buffed this character, and for some reason they didn't buff Ken's fireball, which is objectively significantly worse than his. I don't get it. I'm not a fan. These are really scary. Again, I don't know if it puts him into super viable, but it definitely helps a lot. It would probably bump him 5 or 7 spots up in this list. Yeah, it's really scary, and I don't... Ryu's scary, and I don't like the buffs.
Next up, I think, is Megaman. So listen, I think Megaman is still a good character. But again, I think this character just has to put in too much work in a game where characters can accidentally win. You constantly have to be playing really good neutral. You constantly have to be doing all these things. If you mess up a pellet thing, your disadvantage is really bad. He's really easy to combo, really easy to edge guard. But has some really good stuff, of course. His pellets are amazing, forward air, back air, D-drop out of shield stuff. But I just think this character is like slowly lessening in viability. I think more characters outzone. Like, I think characters outzone Megaman, I think characters out-rush down Megaman, I think characters out-damage, and out-annoying Megaman, for sure. Still a good character, really, really good character, don't get me wrong, but I just think he's not as good as he used to be. And also, like, you know that's true when, like, Kamame drops the character. Kamame was a Megaman believer so long, and he's like, I'd rather not. Let's go... Hero. Hero might be in the super viable tier, I'm not 100% sure. But I think Hero has some really good stuff. I think if you play him normally and just fish for buffs as opposed to like the crazy like kaboom and stuff like that, he's still a very good character. Extra shield damage, extra killing. This character kills people without the buffs. Has a pretty good recovery, hard to mess with. Of course, you get zoom really easily. Yeah, Aka from Japan is like insane. So just really, really good in those regards. And then of course you do get the big spells like Thwack, Magic Burst if you need it, Kaboom, stuff like that. You have crit, you have just really extra, like good shield damage, you have invincible moves. So it's really, really important for Hero to like still be able to like read quickly. You don't need the big spells, you just need things like Oomph and Psycho. Having the access of B-Reverse Giant Fireball is really good for landing and also kills me really early, so he has cheese, and he's consistent, and he has like good combos. He has good normals. I think his worst normal is like up smash or something like that. He can beat zoners because of bounce. He can beat rushdown characters because of just like get off me with up B. He's good at keeping advantage, and he's just good. I think Hero's like a good character. Link. I think Link's a very good character. I think he's very consistent. I think he has really good out of shield options, really good pressure, good projectiles, great killing. But the problem is I don't think he's quite cheesy enough compared to a lot of characters. I don't think he's something that's that ridiculous, considering his infinite is unrealistic. You can DI all of his bomb stuff down. Well, not all of it, but like some of the stuff. The biggest problem with Link is his disadvantage isn't super good. If you start parrying Nair, it becomes like really problematic in order to like do anything. And his recovery if bomb is on stage is really bad. So again, you have to pick whether to use bomb offensively or defensively. And if you want to use it offensively for his best attributes, then you're gonna die really early, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I think Link's a really solid character. Again, all these characters are really solid. Byleth is winning majors every fucking weekend. So like, these are all good characters, right? But he's just like a little too slow to really pressure with his stuff. But if you force the opponent to approach you, Link is gonna be super good. You know?
For Link, I want to see how much these buffs play out, because I have seen the fact that like you can hit people's ledge hang with down tilt, and now it combos into up B or forward air or aerial up B way easier. I do think it's going to help Link get kill confirms in situations where he wasn't getting them before. I think it's going to help him get 50-50s with like down tilt up air and stuff like that as well. So pretty good for Link. Again, don't know if that's going to bump him out of the tier, because again, like in my opinion, he could be a super viable character in general if people just consistently hit the like 30 to deaths and the 50 to deaths with like the back air loops and the nair loops and the bomb stuff, like all that stuff. Link is already a really broken character. He's just not like actually that good because no one's doing that, and it's not even like a theory thing, because the theories existed for a long time and still no one's doing it. Even T just plays neutral with this character, and that's the best Link, right? So I definitely think this helps, and it could be better for him, but the Links aren't really doing enough to make me think this character is super viable.
Next up is Falcon. So I think Falcon is broken, and I've said Falcon is broken for a long time. Then I talked to Fatality, and you know what? I don't know better than the main of the character. He puts Falcon in high tier, which again, I'm not doing high top tier, whatever. But he says that Falcon loses a bit too many matchups to be considered top tier. Falcon has some really good stuff, of course. His up smash is ridiculous, his combo game is ridiculous, his combo routes with instant double jump are crazy. The character has so much good stuff, but loses to a lot of meta-relevant characters like Game & Watch, like Pika, like Palu, like Mario, like really, like Roy, like a lot of common characters this character struggles with. And if the best player of the character is like struggling sometimes just with bad matchups, then like, yeah, maybe I agree. But again, I think Falcon's really good. Like, Fatality was doing really well. I mean, his worst placement now is 33rd, I think. It's like still pretty good. Sheik. So people are suddenly putting Sheik in top 20, and I don't really agree with that character being that good. But Sheik is obviously a really big tournament threat. She has really safe frame data. She can play really lame with needles and just beat her speed. Bouncing fish is great. She has good edge guarding. But the problem is, again, I think that in high pressure situations, Sheik is really difficult, because if you trade, like if it's a character that just wants to swing at you, it's really hard for Sheik to deal with that, besides just constantly playing better. And of course you can constantly play better, but sometimes you're playing constantly better for a forward air, which isn't exactly enough. But yeah, I think this character, I mean, she does a lot of damage. She has ways to kill, like plenty of ways to kill. She's really good at edge guarding. She's really tricky. But I just think that overall, thank you Selden Arcades for the tier 1. I think overall she's just not quite good enough to be super viable, but she's absolutely solo viable. I think she loses to like several characters. Like Pac-Man's really bad. I think Pika's really bad. Ice Climbers apparently is really bad. I know Big D beat Void at main stage, but like, yeah, I think she is just good, like really, really good, but not like broken good. A character I forgot about that's actually going to be lower than Sheik by 1 is going to be Greninja. I still don't know why Europe thinks this character's top 15. I think Greninja is definitely solo viable. He's good. He has good normals, he has good mobility, he has a decent projectile, he has a counter, he has tricky stuff, but I really think that Greninja just overall isn't as good as Europe thinks he is. But still a very good character. Great killing, drag downs out the ass, a lot of tricky setups, but I think the character is just a little bit too linear to be super, super good, because I feel like Greninja struggles to play mid-range a lot unless you're just going to be like walking around and waiting for dash attack, but it's not like threatening enough to really let you play the mid-range in an effective way. And now for the 2 characters that I have probably been the most wrong about, 2 of the 3. Cloud. Cloud's good. Cloud's a good character. Once I lost to Spargo, I was just like, you know, I lost a character I shit on all the time. I still think Cloud has a bunch of flaws, don't get me wrong. I still think a lot of what I said about Cloud is right. But the ability for him to be consistent is really important. Cloud opens up the game and simplifies it in a way that is a lot of times in his favor. With back air, with forward air, with forward tilt, with limit. So he kind of forces you to approach in really awkward ways, but then can back air and then read jumps or read ground movement. Of course, he has cross slash, which does a ton of damage. So it's really difficult to consistently do the right thing versus Cloud. Of course, does he have bad matchups? Absolutely. I think that Cloud loses a ton of matchups. I think he loses to a bunch of rushdown characters. I think he loses to some characters that can really abuse his offstage, even characters that are below him on the list, like Sheik, like Pika. I know I lost. Shut up. It's fine. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna do better. I think he loses to like Palu and maybe the Shotos. I'm not sure, but like he has a good advantage state with up air, of course, like up air nair. Like of course, since fast fall air dodge is a really popular option nowadays, he's really good at covering that with dash attack and up smash, which is what Spargo did to me a lot. So he forces you into uncomfortable 50-50s and then can like do really well off of them. Of course, same thing, right? Like against him, you can definitely against him keep him in disadvantage because he really only has like back air and like you can tell where he's gonna be if he drifts. And like Downer's not super good in disadvantage anymore, but like he has good out of shield options. He just is good at dealing with pressure. He's good at neutral. He's good at advantage. So basically, he only struggles a little bit in disadvantage. So the top tiers can kind of mess with him. But he's definitely really good, and he just is a zoner check. I think he beats like every zoner in the game. Next up is Luigi. I think Luigi is solo viable. In theory, he's inconsistent. In theory, you edgeguard him. In theory, all these things. But you can't be a top 10 player playing a really, really bad character. That doesn't happen. Elegant is honestly just as consistent as most of the top players. He's a little bit less consistent than Tweak. And that's about it. He loses a ton of matchups, unfortunately. Like, he loses to basically every zoner. Especially like the hardcore zoners, like Mewtwo, Min Min, Samus, Pac-Man. I think those matchups are atrocious. But because Ultimate is Ultimate, if he gets the hit, he might kill you. If he gets in, he might kill you. And you can't just rely on yourself playing perfectly unless you are Leo and Spargo, to the point where you can just consistently say that that matters. So yeah, I think Luigi's really good. He has the ability to zero death you. He has the ability to add a shield to you with up B. He has really strong kill potential. He has really good jumps, so he can juggle actually pretty well, like surprisingly well. Of course, he has down B, which is an obnoxious move to deal with, not just because it's frame 1 invincible, but also because of the win box, mostly because of the win box. And I think people can do better against his recovery, absolutely, but it's better than I used to give it credit for. Like, his double jump is so good to the point where you can just go so low, and it's hard. Next up, Chrom. I think that he's still really good, of course. Really consistent killing, good combos, really scary. But I feel like the players that play Chrom opt to play other characters, whether it's Rivers on Diddy, whether it's TK3 on Roy. I just don't really see people playing Chrom as much. I think he's still really good at shield options, ton of damage, really fast, difficult to deal with for a lot of characters. But he's not overwhelmingly strong to the point where his negatives are negligible like a couple other characters in like the super viable tier. This is recovery. His disadvantage isn't that great. But yeah, I just think he's just a worse overall version of Roy. He's still really good and worth it to play, absolutely, but just not as worth it as Roy. Next up is Kazuya. Where is he? I think Kazuya overall is very, very good, clearly. But I do think because of his lack of good jumps, I think he struggles a little bit more than I thought he was going to originally. I think Kazuya is crazy, don't get me wrong. He's literally insane. But I do think that people, one, are bad at the matchup. Two, he's really, really, really hard. And in a tournament, being really, really, really hard isn't a good thing. You don't want a character to constantly drain your mental, right? Like, the ability that he just loses on stages like Battlefield and Yoshi's and maybe Small Battlefield, like, is rough. At the same time, he does a ton of damage, and he kills mad early. He does stupid amounts of damage. If you get hit by side B at 40, you're dead. He doesn't necessarily struggle versus projectile zoners because he has the reflect in forward A, but if it's a character that walls you, he can struggle. Characters like Steve, characters like Min Min, characters like Rob, Game & Watch, Pika, sword characters, he struggles a lot with them. He needs to perfectly be command dashing into them which is really, really difficult. It's really difficult. Can he do it? Absolutely. Is it consistently likely? No. I do think there are some very good Kazuyas, of course. You have XL, you have Burr. I don't think Brittles is going to play Kazuya a lot anymore because he really just vibes more with Terry. But I think Kazuya is just really, really difficult, and you're just fishing for your openings, which isn't best way to play. Exactly. Like, I think Kazuya is really good. I just don't think he's like as good as the rest of the characters. Next up is Ike. Actually, Ike is low-key lower than Cloud, but it's still talking about Ike. I think Ike is still really good. He has good neutral, safe moves, great kill confirms, great 2-frames with Eruption. His down tilt's really good. He has a ton of good stuff. But again, he's one of the characters that's just like, if you can cheese him, he's very susceptible to cheese. If you can hit him, his disadvantage isn't that good. He doesn't really have anything that's like super broken, except for like Nair up B off stage. Like up B in general is really good. Like Nair up B is really good. You have Nair up air, back air, down tilt back air, down tilt up air, stuff like that. So Ike is a very good character in my opinion. I think he's like really high on this end. But at the same time, some characters are just dumber than him. Like it's not like he's bad, it's just he's not as good as some of the other characters. He can struggle with some zoners, he can struggle with a lot of things. Just minorly struggle, but he struggles. And consistently fighting that uphill battle is difficult, you know?
And this is going to be the last little entrance of mine, and we're going to be talking about Ike. His side B being stronger when it's moving and jab being stronger definitely, again, do help. It's harder, it's not super easy to ledge trap as Ike because you have to time his slow forward tilt on things like neutral get-ups, whereas jab is going to kill now at the ledge. You can do parry jab on, you know, safer things because jab is clearly faster than forward tilt. Side B is just kind of like a quality of life thing. It didn't really do that much damage or knockback before, unless you were at really, really high percents. So this is just a nice quality of life change. It makes it harder and scarier to challenge side B, which it already was in my opinion, at least just because you're probably going to get hit because it's hella unreactable when they let go of it. So the side B buff doesn't really matter that much, but the jab one I think does, because it just makes it easier to kill at the ledge. It makes it easier to just clean out stocks with faster moves because, you know, outside of, you know, down tilt comboing into back air or up air, like after those percents, you kind of have to get a raw back air, forward air, dash attack, forward tilt, something like that. And he has all of those moves to do that, but jab being his fastest ground normal means that he can get parry, turn around jab faster, parry jab faster, just add a shield jab on things that are like somewhat safe against him. Although I guess he has up B as an add a shield option, so drop shield jab isn't really going to be a thing, mostly on parry, but it helps. It definitely helps. I would still keep him in the solo viable tier, not in the super viable tier, but it helps. It's going to be like a nice buff for him in general.
Next up is Mii Brawler. I think Mii Brawler is a really, really good character. I think he is super strong. I think if you can mix your movesets with this character in tournament, he becomes absolutely terrifying because you have Town for Heli Kick, you can get mad early kills. You have Thrupper on stages and characters that down throw Thrupper works really well on. If you can camp versus have the command grab versus have Burning Dropkick, there's so much that this character can change to. He has great normals. The only issue with this character is he is not fast, but his normals are amazing. He's some of the best normals in the game. He has great combos that are damaging as hell even if you don't end them in Thrupper. I really just am so scared of this character overall. He has so much potential. His combos are still being optimized now. He has really strong cheese in terms of like Nair Heli Kick or down throw Thrupper or like upper Thrupper and stuff like that. He has great landing aerials. His empty jump's really good because he's a fast faller. He has a command grab, which is really good if you want to use the command grab. He can have a good recovery if you want to use the recovery sets. He's good in disadvantage because he has flip jump, which everyone uses. But like, yeah, I think Mii Brawler is really good. Absolutely. There's one character I can take out of this. I think the highest solo viable but not super viable character is Ness. I think Ness is an incredible character. He has so many good things about him. He's great on platforms. He's great on flat stages. He has good out of shield options, ridiculous killing, really good hitboxes. Magnet's a pain in the ass to deal with. He can heal. His disadvantage is pretty good. His advantage is ridiculous. PK Thunder is amazing. He has great ledge trapping in 2 frames. But the problem is, sometimes this character struggles to get in. If you play a good mid-range character, if you play a good offstage character, it can make you struggle. Currently, in North America, there are not any Ness players that are doing super well consistently. I would say Gact is probably the best Ness overall. I think Gact is amazing, and he's doing really well in Japan, but he's not like top 8ing with any like regularity, I don't think. I could be wrong. But I think Ness is just very overall slightly worse than the super viable characters. He has cheese, don't get me wrong. because Pika Thunder's there, back air's there, his combos are ridiculous. Magnet, like double hit Magnet into down air is a thing, which is so stupid. He's like really explosive, but I think if you just play the patient mid-range, he can struggle a little bit with certain characters. Obviously, beats Pika, unfortunately. But I think overall, it's just really, really difficult to say he's not good. I think his off stage is better than people think it is, because it's really risky to edgeguard him because you get hit by like the tail of Pika Thunder, and then it combos into the big one, and heavy characters will untackle at like 62, shit like that.
Pikachu busted.